Chicago teachers' strike has entered its fourth day. It's affecting 29,000 teachers and support staff and 350,000 students who have been kept out of their classrooms since Monday. Talks resumed Wednesday, but little progress was made. The Chicago Teachers Union is opposing new teacher evaluations that link standardized test scores to teacher ratings, which the union says could lead to the dismissal of more than 6,000 teachers in the next 2 years. The city disputes those figures. Another key point of dispute is the rehiring of teachers that work in schools that are closed or turned around. The Chicago Tribune has reported of plans to close up to 120 schools next year, on top of the over 100 that have already been closed in the past decade. The city also plans to rapidly expand publicly funded but often privately managed charter schools, which often do not have union staff. According to a poll released Monday by the Chicago Sun-Times, 47% support the strike while 39% oppose it, with nearly three-quarters of those polled saying Mayor Rahm Emanuel is doing an average, below average, or poor job of handling the labor dispute. At a press conference Tuesday, the Chicago Teachers Union earned the ringing endorsement of over a dozen local, state, and national labor leaders.
Because what they're calling education reform is not about improving education, it's about actually destroying public education. If it wasn't about destroying it, then how can you explain the churning over of hundreds and thousands of qualified, skilled teachers on a regular basis? How could you explain the closing and opening of schools and moving students back and forth? How could you explain making students learn only how to take standardized tests and not learn how to think and how to learn? They are not out to improve the education system. They're out to weaken it and then replace it. And it's because it's funded, this whole propaganda campaign, as has been reported in the press, is funded by Wall Street hedge funds. Their interest is not the Chicago public school students. Their interest is finding a way to make money off this system.
My name is Chris Barron. I'm the Vice President of Chicago ACTS. It's the union for the charter teachers here in Chicago. And I just want to say, when 98.1% of teachers vote to sacrifice in order to oppose what you're doing something wrong. All right, these are teachers. You want your kids to be taught by politicians, corporations, or teachers. We got 30,000 highly educated, caring professionals who spend 1,000 hours a year with your kids. They need to be brought on board in a meaningful way to run schools. CTU's fight is our fight. They're trying to make schools work better by getting teachers' input and how they're run, what class sizes are. We do the same thing when we organize a school. We stand in solidarity with the CTU and for Chicago families and students. Thank you.
I was very proud last week to represent our members at the Democratic National Convention. And at the convention we heard a lot of good speeches. And our mayor was there. And he gave a great speech about what we are for. And we are for working families. And that's what the Democratic Party is about. We are for the 99%, not the 1%. Well, our members are here to say you cannot be a Democrat on the national level and a Republican on the local level. You have to be consistent, and we have to support our teachers because they are standing for our working families. Not just the teachers. They're standing for the students. So we are proud to be here today. Thank you very much.
SEIU Local 1 President Tom Balanoff went one step further and announced that on Friday, up to 1,500 janitors will be joining Chicago teachers on the picket lines.
The teachers. Our union can honor picket lines. Many of our members have reached out and said they would like to honor the picket lines. We have a 48-hour notice in our contracts today. We sent the 48-hour notice to our contractors saying on Friday there very well may be Local 1 members, janitors, who will stand outside and support the teachers instead of go to work.
Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel's staunch opposition to the teachers' demands has earned him the praise of Republican presidential candidate Mitt Romney and vice presidential candidate Paul Ryan. Linking student performance to teacher evaluations, closing schools, and expanding charter schools are key components of the Obama administration's Race to the Top program and have been strongly backed by Democrats and Republicans. While many local Democratic Party officials have backed the strike, national leaders have remained silent. This does not surprise George Schmidt, a public school parent, former English teacher. He's belonged to the union since 1969 and has been involved in every teacher strike from 1971 to 1987.
Well, as much as I know as of now is that the president, the Secretary of Education, and at least one of Illinois Senators, Dick Durbin, are basically still wedded to the corporate school reform model that we are striking against here in Chicago. Barack Obama has been a princess of that movement since he was in the Illinois Senate, and when he went to the U.S. Senate and was for briefly a colleague with Dick Durbin. They teamed up to push corporate school reform. And once he got into the White House and appointed Arne Duncan, they made the corporate version of school reform even worse than it had been under George W. Bush and Race to the Top. So that's where things stand right now. Obama, Duncan, and Senator Durbin are the enemies of what the Chicago teachers are standing for. They have been so for most of their careers, and they show no signs of becoming anything other than the scabs that they are.
Schmidt says Obama administration education policies may lose him a substantial number of votes in the upcoming presidential election.
At the grassroots, so-called, where we actually work the precincts and bring out the votes, that support either has withered since 2008 or has died off completely. The Obama campaign can no longer mobilize the hundreds of thousands of teachers who turned out to bring out the votes, to hold the home meetings, and to do all the other work that got Obama the presidency in 2008. Because of Race to the Top and because of Arne Duncan, that will not change. And it's not going to change just because they play big bad wolf stories, posing Romney and Ryan as worse than. Because the opportunism and union busting that's been overseen by Arne Duncan, first here in Chicago and now nationally through Race to the Top, is a matter of record, and it's the record of Barack Obama.
Reporting for The Real News, this is Jessel Noor in Chicago.